Hello everyone, very good morning to all of you. So friends, welcome back to Anthropology PYQ series on SRIRAM's IAS platform. So friends, it's me, your Dr. Suresh Uramkunda, and I'm your anthropology guide and mentor. So friends, without wasting any much of time, let's proceed towards the discussion of the day. So first, let's try to see what's the question of the day. So most of you or some of you are aware of the question of the day. So what's the question of the day? The question with us today is critically discuss the centrality of the African continent in the narrative of human evolution. So this is the question with us for today. So shall we proceed for the discussion further? So those who have joined, they can give indication that they have joined, so that like we can further proceed further. So friends, this particular question is one of the interlinked question that has been given in this particular year. So if you happen to see the question paper and if you analyze the question paper setup, so most of the questions have been picked and asked in a sort of relevance. So I'll explain and I'll just make a video on that, as I have said in the previous or last session also. So friends, let's try to discuss about this. So how can we approach for this particular question? So the question you can approach like this. So in the introduction, you can just basically talk about the central theme, that is the process of human evolution. So you can just basically define what is the human evolution. So you can define the process of human evolution, and then slowly you can bring in the relevance of or state the Africa's established centrality in the process of human evolution. So this is where you can start, and this is how you can begin the answer. Then in the body portion of the answer, the question is asking for critically discuss. So two narratives you have to present here. So where you have to provide the arguments in favor of the narrative, and you have to provide the arguments against the narrative. So that's one thing. So there in the first part of the your body portion, so what you can do, you can provide arguments supporting the African centrality by providing some information. So what information you can provide? So we have got a lot of fossil evidences, genetic evidences, archaeological records, as well as the tool technologies, etc. So we can just mention all of them, and you can just say that yes, Africa is the central in the process of human evolution. That's one thing. Then in the second part of your body portion, you can provide arguments against this, arguments against or arguments counter perspectives you can narrate. So what you can do, highlight the counter perspectives in the narrative of the centrality of the African continent in the process of human evolution. So this is how you can proceed, and you can just build up your answer in the body portion. So I hope that is clear to you. Now, if you see in the conclusion portion, so what you can do, you can slightly reaffirm the centrality of the African continent in the evolution of human evolution, and then you can say whether it is central or whether it is exclusive place of origin. So that's how you can conclude. So let's see anyhow in the main course of time. So this is how basically you can keep your basic approach to the answer, right? So just reminding the question again. So critically discuss the centrality of African continent in the narrative of human evolution. So we have to be clear here. So first, how we can introduce the answer? So in the introduction portion, as I have said you can basically define what is human evolution. So what is human evolution? Basically, in very simple fashion to say, how we can define means, human evolution basically refers to, it's a process of development of hominins from early primates to Homo sapiens. So this is what the basically human evolution. So in simple fashion to say, development of the hominins from early primates to Homo sapiens. So this process is also known as hominization. So try to mention somewhere. So the process is also known as hominization. So hominization is a process which involves the process of development of hominins. So that is hominization. I hope you can catch the logic. And now, if we further look into the aspect. Africa's role in human evolution is very unparalleled and multifaceted in the trajectory of the human development. If we happen to see the human development and human evolution process, Africa's role is very central, and Africa's role is unparalleled, and Africa's role is multifaceted for so many reasons. So why and all those things, let's learn in the later part of the discussion. Now try to just remember these statements. So you can use such kind of statements in the introduction so that your introduction can be more effective. Right? Now, if you look from the perspective of the continent's unique environmental, climatic conditions, abundant resources and significant geographical factors or features. So all of them have played a central role in shaping the course of human evolution. So there were so many factors that favored the concept of origin of humans in the Africa. So what were those factors or features? So these are all the factors. So environmental and climatic favorability, then abundance of the resources, then significant geographical features. So all of them played vital role. So that's another important thing you should keep in mind. Then in the introduction, you can just bring in such kind of lines also, stating that therefore the African continent holds an undeniably central and foundational position in the narrative of human evolution. So an undeniably central and the foundational position. So these kind of statements will give more effectiveness to your introduction. So try to use and try to mention such words. So that's one. There, what has happened, but in the later times, that means, however, in the recent discoveries, so the theoretical shifts have generated a debate on the extent, meaning and limits of the Africa's centrality. So the original perspective was that Africa has been considered as the chief place where the life or human evolution has been occurred, whereas the recent discoveries and recent theoretical perspectives have projected it in a different way. So what are those projectives? So let's try to understand that. So this is how you can introduce the answer. So I hope it is clear to you all. Now let's try to understand what are the aspects that suggest the centrality of Africa in the narrative of human evolution. Now look here. So in Africa we have got a lot of fossil evidences. So through this we started calling the Africa as the human cradle. So there was a narrative called as cradle of humanity. Africa was regarded as the cradle of humanity. So that was one thing. Then the genetic evidences, a lot of genetic evidences we have got. So which further strengthened the narrative of the recent origin, African origin concept. So that means out of Africa model narrative. So that is another important thing. And then there were so many paleo environmental drivers and ecological adaptations. So it further strengthened the centrality of African continent in human evolution. So they were some things. So we should remember. Then there were so many archaeological evidences that we have got. So which further strengthened the centrality of Africa. So this is something that we should try to mention. So we should take up each and every point and we have to strengthen these arguments with evidences, with some systematic examples, right? So there, let's see what are the various fossil evidences that we have got in Africa. So if you can able to recollect the fossil evidences, so how you can keep this evidence? You can keep this evidence like this: Africa, a rich treasure of the fossil evidences. So that itself it is communicating that Africa is very much abundant with respect to the fossil evidences, right? So then, if you see in Africa, so we have got some oldest hominid fossils from Africa. So this was one fossil evidence. So what was that? So now you look here. Africa has been yielded the oldest known fossils, hominids. So oldest known fossils of hominids we have got it from Hadar of Ethiopia. So this is one example that you can quote. Then Africa is regarded as the birthplace of the genus Homo. So this is another important thing that you can mention. So genus Homo. So in the Kubi Fura of Kenya, so we have got the earliest evidences of the genus Homo. So that's one another important aspect. Then the origin of modern humans, the current Homo sapiens, that also can be seen, and we have got the evidences from Homo Kibish in Ethiopia. So you can see these places here. So all these places you can see here. So like Hadar. So Hadar is a place here. Can you see? Kubifora. And you have like other places like this. So Hadar, Kubifora. So from all these places what we have got some fossils of earliest homins, and we have got earliest Homo sapiens and richest fossil records. So everything we have got in the African region. So this is why we will call it as the rich treasure of fossil evidences, and this narrative and these findings have further strengthened the argument of centrality of Africa in the human evolution. Now further what you can see, what were the notable discoveries that we have got? So notable discoveries and factual information also we have to present. So here you can see Australopithecus afarensis, like let's say for example, have you heard about Lucy? So Lucy was the name that has been given to this fossil evidence. So Lucy, this as Australopithecus afarensis was found in Ethiopia, so which was dating back to 3.2 million years ago. So this was one fossil evidence that we have got. Then we have got Homo habilis and Homo erectus fossils in Tanzania and Kenya. So further they were dating back to 2.4 million years to 1.4 million years ago. So this is one another notable discovery that we have got. Then further, Homo erectus fossils also found in Kenya and South Africa. So these were some notable discoveries. So we have to mention such discoveries, and you have to mention that these discoveries further strengthens the narrative of Africa as the central in the process of human evolution. Then further, there were some significant sites which can be considered as the treasure hubs of the fossil evidences. So key archaeological sites includes Olduvai Gorge. So Olduvai Gorge also once has been asked in previous year question. So Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, then Hadar in Ethiopia, then Sterkfontein in South Africa, and etc. have provided crucial evidences of early human evolution. So all these aspects strengthens the argument that Africa is the central place in the process of human evolution. So I hope that is clear to you all. Now let's try to see what were the various genetic evidences that we have got. So you can see this map, and in this map also you can see some places, Hadar, Cubifora, Chad, Moleti. So they are all some of the places in Africa where we can see fossil evidences, right? Now further, what were the genetic evidences that we have got, and how this further strengthened the recent African origin narrative? So let's try to see this. Now, if you see from the perspective of the Africa, highest levels of human genetic diversity in the world have found or were found in the African populations, highest variations in the genetics. So that has been found in African populations. So with this what we have got, along with this, there were some mitochondrial DNA studies and there were some Y chromosomal studies that have been done. So what these mitochondrial DNA studies have strengthened, so the genetic research that shows that all the modern humans share a common ancestor who lived in Africa about 2 lakh years ago. This is supported by the mitochondrial DNA analysis, which traces maternal lineage. So can you able to recollect the mitochondrial Eve concept? So that we have already studied. So mitochondrial Eve is one thing that here they are discussing. So we have got all the modern humans share a common ancestor, that is mitochondrial Eve. So this further strengthens that the human evolution has been occurred in the African continent. So that's one thing. Then further, if you see Y chromosomal studies, so they have been conducted and they further helped us in tracing the common ancestors of all modern humans again back to African populations. So this is another aspect that strengthened the narrative. And finally, we have one theory that is known as out of Africa theory. So the most widely accepted theory is that modern humans evolved in Africa and from Africa they have moved or migrated to other continents, replacing the early hominin populations. So this is how there were some narratives which supported from the point of genetics point of view. So we have to mention these genetic evidences also, right? And apart from this, we have also got some of the important archaeological records. So these archaeological records further strengthened the narrative. So what were those archaeological records? So let's try to check that. So some of the oldest known stone tool technologies, they have been found in Africa. So which further strengthened the narrative that the humans have been originated in Africa. So what were those kind of tool technologies? So one you can see the Lomoquian tools, and other one is like Oldovan tools. In Oldovai so we have got Oldovan tools and Lomoquian tools. So they are all nothing but some of the earliest and the oldest known tool technologies. So they were first developed and they observed and discovered in the East African region. So this strengthens the narrative further. Then again, the subsequent tool technologies, like let's say the Acheulean tool technology and the later Middle Stone Age technology. So they also have their earliest and most extensive records in Africa. So be it could be Lomoquian tool technology, be it could be Oldovan school tool technology, or be it could be Acheulean tool technology, or the Middle Stone Age tool technology. So all these evidences we can see in the East Africa and Africa. So this further strengthens the narrative that African continent is central in the process of human evolution. I hope you can understand this. So we should mention these archaeological records or tool technological evidences, right? This was one argument that strengthens the narrative. And then if you happen to see, there were some paleo-environmental drivers and adaptations that further strengthened this narrative. What do you mean by paleo-environment? Paleo means old environmental drivers. So let's see here. So if you happen to see in the olden times, so what has happened at the time? So there was some rift valley and tectonics, plate tectonics. Due to plate tectonic movements, so rift valley has been created in Africa. Do you remember the Great African Rift Valley? So the Great African Rift Valley has been created through plate tectonics. So due to divergent plate boundary, so there we have got a rift valley got created. So now what does this rift valley and what does this plate tectonics have done means, look here, geological upliftment and rifting has created fragmented habitats. First thing, what does it did? It created fragmented habitats. Then movement corridors, this also been created. Then prompting the population separation and experimentation and adaptive divergence. So the plate tectonics and rift valley creation has fragmented the habitats. So people have started living in smaller places, and then they have got some movement corridors through rift valley. So they could able to just walk and they could able to just move from one place to another place. So movement corridor. So all these things led to separation of the population, and further it led to adaptive divergence. So they have moved on to different places, diverged to different places, and they have adapted to their particular environmental conditions. So that's one thing that has happened. Then further what has happened, so we can also see some expansion of the savannas. So this further happened. So how did it happen and how it strengthened the narrative? Let's see. There was a kind of climate-driven shift from forests to grasslands. So savannas are nothing but it's a type of grassland, isn't it? So there was a shift from forests to savanna grasslands. So this further favored the bipedal mobility in the humans. And then what has happened? This further broadened the dietary habits. So which further included the early tool-assisted foraging and meat use. So that means we are talking about some paleo-environmental adaptiveness or adaptive contexts we are discussing. So shift from forest to grassland has brought some changes in the humans. That means in the process of human evolution, right? So Very good. So savannas are nothing but the tropical grasslands. Very good. Venustry. Then Africa. Africa is an adaptive laboratory. So we can also see that. So there you can see that constant ecological fluctuations generated strong selective pressures, and along with that what has happened, fostering flexibility, innovation and the key evolutionary transformations. So these all aspects that further favored and strengthened the narrative of Africa as the central in the process of human evolution, right? So you can see that Africa appears as the cradle of human origins and Homo sapiens emergence. So all these narratives, all these points strengthens this argument. So this is how you can simply support the argument that Africa is central in the origin of human evolution process. And you can also counter, because you have to critically discuss it. So what are the counter arguments and alternative perspectives that you can give? Critical perspectives or alternative views that you can give. There is one concept called as Pan-Africanism, and other concept that is known as the archaic admixture or preservation and research bias. Some sort of things are there. So you have to explain such kind of narratives. They are all nothing but critical perspectives. So first thing, you can see that across the Africa, be it could be North or Central or South Africa, so it indicates generally there were some new discoveries that have happened, which indicated that human evolution was not confined to a single Garden of Eden region. Rather, it is being spread to different parts of the Africa, in and around Africa. So you can see, but rather what has happened? Rather, human evolution was a complex process. Human evolution was a polycentric process which involves multiple interlinked population across the continent over the hundreds of thousands years ago. So earlier what we used to believe is that Africa is, the human evolution process is confined to the single Garden of Eden region. Rather, the Pan-Africanism, that means human evolution has been occurred around Africa. So not only within Africa, so around Africa that has been occurred. So this is what the Pan-Africanism. So this is one counter argument for this particular narrative, right? Then archaic admixture. What is this archaic admixture? Archaic means world. So world admixture of the populations. You can just understand this in a systematic fashion. Now, while we see modern humans primarily evolved in Africa, the genetic studies, they have shown us that they migrated out and they inbred with the other archaic human populations. Who were the other archaic human populations? We have other archaic human populations like the Neanderthals, the Denisovans in Europe, so etc. So what they have done, so they have, with the inbreeding with them, so the non-African populations carried a small percentage of DNA from these kind of interbreeding aspects. So this further showed that the humans have been originated outside Africa also. So that is one thing. That means there were people like Neanderthals, they were the Denisovans. So they were all nothing but some of the other archaic human populations. So this is one thing that you have to mention. And the preservation and research bias. So researchers further strengthened and showed that fossils outside the Africa, like be it could be Danishi, be it could be the Denisovans, or be it could be the East Asian Homo erectus. So all of them further raises the question about over-representation rather than a true centrality of the Africa. So we had such kind of evidences outside Africa, which says that human evolution have occurred at different places in the different parts of the world. So these kind of evidences showed that the narrative was over-represented and it was highly strengthened in and around the Africa only. So this is what you can keep it and remember it. So that's how you can just counter and critically discuss the narrative. So then how can you conclude the answer? In the conclusion, you can simply say that the African continent remains foundational to the narrative of the human evolution, which is supported by some strong fossil as well as genetic evidences. But what you can say, however, the current researchers reaffirm that the complex Pan-African process where our species emerged across all the interconnected continental areas. So this one you can say. Thus, and the conclusion what you can say at the last phases, you can say that the centrality Africa is therefore stands as a qualified centrality and the dominant in origin but embedded within a wider mosaic of evolution of interactions. So you can say that the argument of centrality in the Africa is a qualified argument and it's not a kind of exclusive or one and only thing. So qualified place of origin of human evolution. So that is how you can end the discussion. So this is how you should proceed to the question. So I hope it is clear to you all. So is there any doubts for anyone from this particular discussion? You can just type in the chat box if there are any doubts. So that's all I wanted to share with you for today. So this is how you can approach the question. So that's where let's try to proceed further. So then if you happen to see, the question for the next session, that is day 17 of our discussion, would be this. So listen to the question. How the theories of postmodernism are relevant in promoting social justice and empowerment of the marginalized communities. So this is the question for the next session. So take a pause and note it down, and if you want to attempt it, you can just attempt it and you can just share through Telegram channel. So just pass it and take a note of the question. Right. So let's proceed further, and if you want to share your answers and if you want to just get some more guidance and if you want to connect with me directly, so you can just join our Telegram channel Anthropology Guide either through this link or through our QR code. So scan it and join the Telegram channel. So that's all I wanted to share with you for today. So friends, we'll meet tomorrow or at 11:30 a.m. with another important question. So the question that I have shared. So that's all for today. So thank you all of you for joining me with this session. Thank you.